much later on, especially when I came up to Seattle and got the job, because then that wasn't like the beginning of Easy Street. That was the beginning of like the hardest part. So, you know, life is going to be some hard work, you know, and at least I was kind of used to it. I think I'm talking way too much about myself.
That's what this is. No, that's what this is. No, any and all insight, absolutely. But you touched on that idea of isolation, and I know that's something that you've talked about a lot, and you and I have talked about. I remember being at a PJ show in Madrid a couple summers ago, and you were talking to the crowd and said, like, if any of you feel alone, you know, or you feel like you're at a point where it's never going to get better, I've felt that way, and it does get better. It always gets better, and that's something that I've thought back on over the last couple of years since you've said that.
But did I also say that it will get better? It always gets better.
Yeah.
And then it will get worse.
Yeah.
And then it'll get better.
Right. The ebbs and flows.
It'll get worse.
Yeah.
And it's part of the deal, you know. You could kind of train your heart and your mind to go, look, this is another rough time. And it could come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It could just come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But be like, okay, this might be the worst I've ever felt. Right. Or this might be the hardest thing I've ever had to go through.
Right.
I think, you know, it's hanging in. It's just, it's basic, and it's so much easier said than done, but it's really just sometimes just hanging in there and maybe not, you know, doing anything drastic or hurting yourself when you're down. It's interesting because, you know, Roskilde, a concert in Denmark where there was issues with weather and the crowd and a horrific situation where lives were lost in front of the barricade. And, you know, a lot of people, if they're tuning in and they know they might know of that. But it's crazy to talk to you about it, because right before we went on stage, it was kind of cold. It was rainy. We were in a trailer, backstage trailer. The Cure was going to play after us. I can't remember who played before. Kind of cold. There was not a couch or a thing. It was just like a cooler and a deli tray and a cold, kind of muddy trailer. And we got the news that our great friends, Chris and Susan, had just had a child. And her name was Lily. And we kind of cried some tears of joy. We all gave each other a hug. This was, I think, less than like 15 minutes before we're going to go on.
Yeah.
And you were the first kind of baby of all the band, you know, that was it. So that was a huge, huge moment. And then we went out with you on our minds, you who we hadn't even met yet. And we were feeling empowered and emotional. And then, I don't know, it was maybe 40 minutes into the show, all of a sudden this, you know, these terrible events happen.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've gone through a lot of healing with some of the parents of those individuals, the families of those great individuals. We got to know who they were. We respected. We got to know and respect not just them, but the pain that their families had to go through. So, but one thing I remember was like, you know, and I've made no decision. I try to keep my mind open as far as, you know, when you look to the sky at certain moments and you either want an answer or someone to communicate with, or
Sure.
but you know who helped us out in that situation? I might have mentioned it in an interview before, but I'll say it again, was Pete and Roger, who had been through the same thing with the Who or something similar.
Right.
But there I was in a fetal position, basically. And Pete said, "You can handle this." And I said, "I can't." I was like, I don't know, Pete. I don't think I can. I'm losing it.
Yeah.
And he said, "No, you can handle this." He goes, "You know, that, you know, maybe, or, you know, because I think I was doing this thing like, why? That makes no sense it would happen to us. Like we stop shows if we see somebody go down in the pit. We'll stop even flow on a dime, get everybody back up, and then bam, right into the bridge and keep going."
Yeah. Yeah.
We were good at it, you know, kind of lifeguarding at the same time as we're playing. And we cared about the crowd, obviously, and we cared about, we tried to, you know, safety first. And so, you know, I was doing maybe a little bit of woe is me, like, how did it happen to us? And Pete said, "Because you can handle it." And I said, "I don't think I can." And he said, "No, you can. That's probably why it happened to you, because you can handle it."
Right. Right.
So he empowered me to, you know, get my shit together, don't feel sorry, and don't react, respond.
Right.
You know, we were talking about it a little bit one day, you and I was saying, you know, and then some friends would say, like, they'd say, "Man, I can't even imagine what you're going through." And since then, I've never said that to a friend. Like, I can't imagine what you're going through, because when you're the one going through it, that means absolutely nothing.
Can you please imagine? Like, can you please try to imagine what I'm going through? Yeah.
Yeah. I can't imagine. Well, fucking imagine for a second and help me out.